I grew up watching, science and fantasy kind of fused in the cartoons that I watched, in the books that I read. That's just, and then as I grew older and I started researching more scientific topics, I began to realize with the history of science, like our current moment where we treat science and the natural world or the sciences and the arts as separate things, that's unique to our moment and to our society. That's not how the rest of the world and history has ever treated. There's, natural science. Like this is just this artificial division between tech and the people that use the tech. This is one of the things that Butler did so well. She did not focus on the tech, she focused on how people use it and how it changes society. And that is why her vision seems so prescient. Because, you can, there are 1,000 science fiction writers out there that predicted the rise of cell phones. Everybody that watched Star Trek saw the prediction of cell phones. Tricorders, like the idea of like a tablet. And yet we're not using them the way that they do in Star Trek because they couldn't envision like ads or whatever. They couldn't envision Verizon monopolies. They couldn't, like none of that occurred to them. They thought that this technology would appear and it would become ubiquitous in our society and it would be uniquely and uniformly helpful. We didn't realize it would be spying on us. We didn't realize, none of that. And the uses of technology are much more important than how the tech actually develops. So anyway.
Well, I did hear you say that you have described, it's okay to get the science wrong, right? There's a tension between belief and the suspension of disbelief, but you said, I never want to get the people wrong.
Yeah.
So can you tell us about that?
It's not okay to get the science wrong. That was why I winced, because I try not to get the science wrong. I do get the science wrong, and I don't feel horrible about that. If I get the people wrong, then I know I have caused harm. If I get the science wrong, I may or may not have caused harm. I went to a workshop many years ago called Launchpad, sponsored by a NASA astrophysicist named Mike Brotherton. And that workshop's purpose was to bring influencers, we didn't have that word back then, was to
Thank God.
Was to bring various influencers from the literary field, comedians, whoever, anybody that interfaced with the public enough, bring them out to University of, we were in Laramie.
Only we had a gadget where we could look up.
Well, I'll look it up later, but I don't think it was the University of Wyoming. But in any case, we were at Laramie. We went to the observatory in Laramie. I'm sorry. So anyway, but the whole point was they dragged us out to the desert. They flogged us through a week of as much physics as they could fit into our heads, and they explained to us the whole problem with having people like us, i.e. influencers, having more contact with the public than scientists did means that the public gets its ideas about science more from us than from scientists. And one of the reasons why so many Americans get a lot of scientific facts wrong is because science fiction writers have been lying to them or getting the science really, really wrong. And so they wanted to make sure that we understood the science enough to not do that. So I feel bad when I get the science wrong, but I at least don't feel like I'm doing, kind of societal damage. When I get the people wrong, then I am often contributing to an existing set of prejudices and history of stereotypes that is doing real life and death damage. Then I feel bad. Then I don't want to do that. I do my best to try and correct that when I have made those kinds of mistakes.